How I Deal with Anger. FIGU, LANDESGRUPPE, Australia. No more. 33 February 2024.
I remember when I was a very small child, if I banged my elbow on something hard or something similarly painful, my stupid reaction might be one of anger directed at the hard object. I might slap the armchair or door as if it was to blame for my hurt. Of course, that was an example of lack of control and lack of taking responsibility. I felt a little ashamed even then as I lashed out at the object. Eventually, I learned better control. How slow we are to learn that the same applies for hurt feelings and situations that seem impossible to endure. But not only can we learn not to blame external factors for our anger, we can learn to avoid it in the first place. If I put my mind to it, I can deal with any negative feelings of upset which might accumulate and lead to uncontrollable outbursts by paying attention to the creational within me in a form of meditation. But much easier than that, to begin with, is the use of the wishful dream as described in Billy's book, The Psyche. Feeling angry would be a classic opportunity to use the wish dream to turn on the neutral positive thinking. For instance, one could use imagery of a beautiful, favorite, tranquil place in which one sees oneself behaving totally calmly. Perhaps it is a quiet beach at dusk, with waves gently rising and sinking, seagulls hovering above, and a gentle, fresh breeze. One can imagine oneself totally at ease, free and peaceful, strolling peacefully with a gentle breeze ruffling the clothes. It simply takes repeated practice to make such imagining reliable and vivid and able to be evoked immediately at will. The effect would then be immediate, like turning on a switch. The neutral positive purity of such clean, creational imagery immediately calms us, takes our mind off the specifics of the matter that triggered the anger reaction, and at the same time allows constructive thoughts around the matter. In The Psyche, on page 172, where Billy teaches about beginning to learn positive thinking, he writes of the wishful dream.
In any case, it is permissible to let one's thoughts glide along the most fanciful lines in the wishful dream, to build gigantic castles in the sky, and to indulge in all that is able to please the senses: happiness, love, beauty, understanding, and everything which uplifts the heart and feelings. However, it is of the greatest necessity thereupon to pay attention that the wishful dream is always immediately seized when even only the smallest negative thought attempts to break into the consciousness.
Constructive thoughts can only be of a neutral kind. They take us from the helpless and hopeless feelings to feelings of understanding, whereby the wrong or perceived wrong that caused the anger is appraised, but is not taken on board as suffering. Why carry someone else's error or deficit, or why compound the result of one's own error or deficit by raging over it? In Billy's article, Anger and Rage, he writes,
Every human being needs the peace, the freedom and the harmony of his or her consciousness, whereby the only question is whether he or she possesses these high values, or whether he or she must first create them for himself or herself, and if so, how is this possible for him or her? Through anger or rage, this is impossible. However, through feeling for others, love, peace, and kind-heartedness, as well as through dignity, honesty, freedom, harmony, and conscious use of the intellect and the rationality, the individual's peace of consciousness can be attained.
neutral recognition of something wrong and destructive is simply seeing it as it really is. So, for example, rage at being wrongly accused of something very negative can be replaced by recognition of being wrongly accused, along with a quiet assessment of the practicality of pointing out the error. One can always look inwardly to find comfort in a seemingly impossible situation, which is mostly what seems to evoke rage or anger in me. Once we have satisfied ourselves that any constructive comment has been delivered to the other party, we can work out how to appropriately continue or not our interaction with them. So it becomes a series of logical decisions based on practicality. If I step back and recognize some hurt someone is inflicting on me as being their mistake, if not mine, which simply hurts me like a punch to the stomach would hurt me, then all I have left to deal with is the neutral processing of the hurt. When I'm physically hurt, I feel the pain, but can reduce the suffering of it significantly by just regarding it for what it is. And I can take steps with the feeling-based hurt as much as I can with any physical hurt to soothe it through self-care. Contrast this to the school of thought that says that it is good to express our anger and rage. No doubt this is partly an overreaction to societies where feelings in general are meant to be repressed and injustice simply put up with without complaint. But to embrace the rage or anger is similarly uncontrolled, even if it may beneficially bring about the initial recognition of our feelings and emotions. According to the book Goblet of the Truth and Other Teaching Texts, our uncontrolled as well as controlled thoughts and feelings go out beyond us and collect ones of a similar kind, and together they become ever greater. Imagine what this specifically means for the anger that we express. Goblet of the Truth in chapter 25 explains,
Consider, the swinging waves of your thoughts and feelings always impinge there, where they come upon equalities, therefore upon thoughts and feelings of the same or similar kind, in which case distance is of no significance. Since the swinging waves are so fast that they hurry around the world in a fraction of a second and strike your fellow human beings at the farthest parts of Earth and bring about new effects in them. So it is given that negative or positive thoughts and feelings from you individuals, you humankind of Earth, can bring about good or evil in all the world by striking individual people of your kind, small or large groups, or even whole peoples who are aligned to your thoughts and feelings. Thus, they can then forcibly trigger deeds and actions that are completely different in their forms to your mental and feeling-based impulsations, and yet nonetheless find their origin therein.
but with anger, prevention is better than cure. If, as Billy explains in the above sections, one can avoid anger through using the intellect and rationality by offering love, understanding, harmony and so forth, and of course using his recommended wishful dreams, then it only requires the will to do so and the retraining of the consciousness to always engage in these values in order to avoid anger in the first place.
Vivian Legg,